This is Rashawn Slater, first round draft pick for the LA Chargers, and you're listening to the Charged Up Bolts podcast. Bolt up.
Hello and welcome to the Charged Up Bolts podcast. I'm your host, Bez the Spaniard. Elliot Bermuda's gotten who is back, baby. I'm back. I'm feeling great. You know, you've missed me. It wasn't the same without me, was it, guys? I am joined by the guys that had my back while I was unwell. They are John Moss Jr. John Moss Jr., Dan King, and John Ayres. How are you, my brothers?
Same good, man. We're good. We're good. We got another victory.
It's a big one as well. You know, the Chargers dominate the Bengals, never in doubt. You know, it's a big 41-22 win. None of us ever thought we were blowing it because we know the old Chargers are dead and the new Chargers don't give away these leads. They dominate their opposition.
I think John Ayres was the only one that predicted that the Bolts would win.
It's not a prediction when you know what's going to happen. You're just telling people what's going to happen.
You didn't predict that Keenan Allen touchdown pass to Justin Herbert though, or that tackle, or that.
I mean, you mean the 2-point conversion catch? You mean not touchdown?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah, of course it was. Well, perhaps we'll have a little competition. Anyone listening and
so
watching,
long ago, forgot.
It can't be called the Philly Special. Winner is whoever comes up with the best new name for whatever they just got up with. You know,
I've already got it.
Herbert is a better wide receiver than Tom Brady, so I'll take it.
It's the 13-10 special. That's what we call it.
Special. You know, it's a big win. The Chargers go out ahead. Dominate the Bengals early and then take their foot off the gas, letting the Bengals get turnovers, dominate, come back into the game, nearly tie it up. Before the defense really showed up, Tavon Campbell scoops up to put us within a defensive score, something the Chargers have been missing this season. And, you know, it really wasn't a 2021 Chargers performance. I think there was a lot of stuff I saw that looked like we'd adjusted. You know, we looked good with pressure.
There were no eyesores.
Say again.
There were no eyesores.
No, there was a few. But I was really impressed with the Chargers. You know, they gave us a bit of a scare. What were your main takeaways from this really important playoff hunt victory, John Moss Jr.?
Main takeaways, good and bad.
Take your pick. Pick out your best ones. Your good and your bad.
The fact that look, Herbert played really well. He got beaten up, quite frankly. Norton gave up a sack and 2 hurries. Schofield gave up a hit. Lindsley, he had a clean game as usual. Matt Fowler had a sack and a hit, and Slater allowed a hit, and a hurry. You know, it was a pretty much of a horror show in terms of watching both quarterbacks getting beaten up out there. But the fact that he was airing the ball out to his receivers, he played really well. Obviously, the 2-point conversion that we've already spoke about, you know, nice little trick play there. And we know he's got moral fibre. He's got kahunas. That tackle, because when Austin Eckler fumbled the football, I thought, Bengals are running there for 6. But there was Herbert down the side with a crunching tackle. And I tell you what, if I was some of our defense, listen, if I was some of our defensive players, I'd be going to have a chat with Justin Herbert and saying, what's your secret to being able to tackle? Because there's still some bad tackling. You know, Tavon Campbell wasn't great again with the tackling. But on the positive side, we did hold Joe Mixon, didn't we, to 2.8 yards a carry on 19 attempts. So they're doing something right there. I expected Mixon to be running for $1.50, but that never happened. 27 pressures on Joe Burrow. So yeah, there's lots of good and bad, and people were losing their minds because we gave up 20 odd points. But this is the NFL with Joe Burrow under center. The Bengals are going to compete, but it's great to see us, you know, picking up the W and in the end comfortably.
Well, you make a really good point about this whole. You look at Mixon. I have him in fantasy in quite a few leagues, and he's been absolutely dominant. And yet we don't look like the same team we did a few weeks ago, where every single run play is looking like it's going to go for a first down or more. You know, the big improvements. I credit a lot with Justin Jones. I think I've noticed since he's come on the line, as well as obviously we're clearly focusing on it in training sessions midweek, that we're a much different team. I mean, Dan, were you really pleased to see that tighten up, or were there other areas of the game that impressed you?
It was relieving to see that tighten up a bit, and I do think you're right. I think Justin Jones is a big part of that. Hopefully, we get Linval back and have them kind of really asserting some kind of dominance there, because there was enough going on there to free up the rushing, despite Bosa not being there for the majority of the game. So you got a lot more pressure, it seemed like, and then you got the Tevon Campbell, who I felt comfortable tweeting during the first half, we should fire Campbell, getting that fumble. So it was an entertaining game. It was stressful, of course, going up. What was it? We went up 24-0. We scored 24 uncontested. They scored 22 uncontested. We finished it with 17 more. So it was the classic pattern that Chargers games seem to have followed this year, where we just have one quarter of just awful football.
Always, of course, sponsored by Dan King.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd say 2 quarters. The second and the third were pretty bad.
A great half in the middle.
Yeah, that was horrendous. I tweeted out the second and third quarter were absolutely awful. But look, you can expect this on the road. We're not, we're not seeing any easy games, really, are we, in the NFL this year? There are a lot of close games, a lot of teams winning and losing every other week. So
it's an entertainment factor in the AFC. It's really close. We're a couple of games off first. We're one game off not being in the playoffs. There's a lot of teams in the mix. It's a really big game to go out and grab the bull by the horns and win. When we did that, and it's not perfect, but major improvements been made. We're not getting gashed by the run, and we're resilient enough to, when we do fall down, to get back up again. I mean, John, did you think it was over at 24-22 up? Did you think the momentum is with the Bengals? They're going to win. What things were you happy with, not happy with?
Well, I mean, ultimately, I think what it came down to is there's obviously some execution issues, but turnovers, right? I think the turnovers are what really felt like the game started swinging the other way. I mean, it could have been, to be perfectly honest, it could have been like 34 to 20 at halftime. It really could have been. Like, this team could have scored pretty much every time they touched the ball. But turnovers seem to really kill them. I felt like there was that worry of, oh my goodness, is this going to happen again? But honestly, though, it was not as bad as it was previously. I really feel like I've turned the corner on this team a little bit as far as faith goes. I just have more faith that they're going to turn it around and make the play that they need to towards the end of the game. Now, do I wish they could just take a lead and hold on to it and just kind of, run it from end to end without ever having any, massive setbacks in the middle? Yes, I do wish that. I don't want to be playing in so many games that come down to the fourth quarter. But again, it's the NFL, and honestly, this year it's been that way for every team. I mean, there's not a single team in the AFC that you can look at and go, nope, that team, no issues. They're a contender, right? I mean, right now the number one seed is the New England Patriots, a team that after a few games in the early part of the season, we thought, okay, they were destined to be maybe third in their own division. Now they're the number one seed in the league. So, I mean,
despite only completing 2 passes in that game on Monday night as well, which is just wild.
I mean, it's wild, but it's exactly what's right about the coaching there. And then they just say, look, we make adjustments in game and we make adjustments per game, right? We don't have like, this is what we're going to do. And if we do it well, we're going to win. If we don't do it well, we're going to lose. I think that's an old antiquated way of thinking. That's how Anthony Lynn thinks. And that's what we saw last year of, hey, when it's going well, great. But when it's going poorly, you're still going to keep ramming your head into a wall, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So, to me, that was a masterclass in coaching by Bill Belichick yet again. And to be perfectly honest, and I know the weather played into it, but to be perfectly honest, it makes me feel a lot better about the loss to the Patriots earlier on in the season, which felt like a pretty bad loss, but now it feels like okay, that happens. He's just a really good coach kind of loss. So, but thinking about the game as a whole, I was not as worried about it. So I'm glad to see that they were able to kind of bring it together. Bosa went out early with a concussion, and I was worried. It was really nice to hear the coach say, basically, look, he went out with a head injury. He probably could have come back in because he cleared the protocol, I think. And the coach is like, no, given his injury history, and especially with what we've seen with ASJ, he's like, no, you're not going back in there. And obviously, by the time they probably got the results, they were probably still up 24 to whatever. So they probably felt pretty good about the chances. He probably didn't feel like a pressure to bring it back in, but still, I do like the way that they're thinking with that. So I think this team is starting to really hit their stride. I think that they are getting healthy at the right time, and I think it's exciting to see what Staley and this team can do forward, because it feels like maybe the defense is finally gelling. And I said in the beginning of the season, I was like, hey, you know what? Just when Staley took over the Rams, it took them like half a season before they started really like looking like a dominant force, right? Not that I actually think this defense is a dominant force. I don't think they have the personnel. We've been saying it all year. He needs a few more players and pickups that I think can really solidify what he wants to do. But I just figured it would take a while for them to get going. Now, did I think it was going to take 10 weeks to get figured out? No, I didn't think it was going to take 10 weeks. So that's when I started getting really scared, around week 6 or 7, when it still looked like they hadn't really figured anything out. But it looks like hopefully they figured it out. I think people are getting healthy, and I think I think we're going to see much better performances from the defense moving forward.
And Chris Rumph,
yes, finally shows up.
Chris Rumph, 5 tackles, sack, tackle for loss. That's what.
Well, this is the thing with Staley.
Him.
He develops players. And I worried, it's probably the same as you, that we weren't really seeing it. We weren't seeing anybody just take a massive stride forward. And all of a sudden, we're seeing Uchenna Nwosu is the 9th ranked pass rusher since over the last 10 weeks. He's absolutely lit it up and gone from sort of hero from zero. If you take a look at what he's done, he's 15 pressures since week 10, 3 sacks in that span. Really, really impressed with him. Justin Jones, as I mentioned earlier, turns up. He was missing. He's come back. He's making a real difference. And you just feel as if it's a different defense.
When did we last time we have 6 sacks in a game? I can't remember.
I want to add to that. The full-on breakout for Kaiser White. I think Kaiser White, we saw glimpses of it before. We thought, hey, he's a solid guy. He's going to be a solid part of the defense. He's one of the leaders of the defense. He just is out there making plays right. He's really developed under Staley. And a lot of people me included, were like, why was Calamete out there starting at left guard? And they said, look, we're developing Jameis and he's not ready. And you know what? At first I was like, given the performance, there's no way that could be true. But you know what? The way he's developing everybody, the way Rumph is finally having a little bit of a mini breakout in himself in one game. It's a small sample size, but if he can continue this type of development, it's going to make me really believe, okay, well, there's something to Staley's method. He's kept some of these younger guys out. He's kept them kind of under wraps, letting them develop, letting them learn the technique and the skill that they need, and then giving them an opportunity to unleash them. And I really think that we're starting to see the fruits of that labor, right? Like I said, we always talked about this being a transition year, right? Transitioning to the new coaching staff. We all thought with the talent and with the coach, we had the ability to potentially make the playoffs, but we didn't think it was going to be much more than that. And to be honest, I think they're ahead of schedule, right? Are they as ahead of schedule as we all thought at 4-1? Obviously not. People were starting to talk about Super Bowl for some crazy reason, whatever.
Super Bowl, baby.
We're not that far ahead of schedule, but do I think we're ahead of schedule of what I thought we would be? Then yes, I do believe that. I think that some of these young guys are really starting to pop. And if they all can develop into something, which we haven't seen before, right? We haven't seen these later round draft picks develop under Telesco, right? Whether that's the coaching or Telesco's evaluation, I don't know, but they just haven't really developed, right? If we're starting to see the development of that, this team is going to be really, really dangerous, because that means we're actually going to have depth at a position.
Yeah, no, I'm taking massive positive. I was laying in my deathbed, ill, needed the Chargers to cheer me up. Massive early lead. I thought, this is just so not Chargers, to come up with a game plan that dominates. And then they gave me the chills by nearly losing it, and we finished, which is the most important thing. You go on the road, you beat a playoff contender, and you dominate, and you win with a healthy score. Whoever you got there, love that. The thing that's really riled me up, and I'm angry, I'm really annoyed. PFH, no, not PFH. PFF. Burrow apparently was the better quarterback. Unbelievable. So I had a rant about this the other day, talking about how Burrow was fantastic. He had drops and long passes that are no, mate, no. Herbert got the job done and was better quarterback in every single way. Joe, I don't know what their problem is to hate Justin Herbert so much, but our QB gets it done. And talking to him just briefly, because I think it's important to mention at this point, from one QB to another, happy birthday, 40 years old, Philip Rivers.
Yes.
That is today, is it
Sir
not?
Philip.
Sir Philip, so we've got our 40-year-old hero, but Justin Herbert, the young gun, dominates the
So
the
I've just got the QBR
sophomore.
ratings up. Justin
Go on
Herbert
then.
79.9, Joe Burrow 32.6. So Burrow was 24 or 40 for 300 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. His rating was 70.8. Herbert 26 of 35, 317, 3 touchdowns, a 2-point conversion reception, a tackle, an interception, 4 sacks, and 118.4 rating. So I know if you listen to Matt Money Smith, the greatest voice in sports, he says, you know, the PFF do a lot of good things. You know, you all know that I'm a fan of looking at the grades because it gives you a snapshot where people are. But he says some of the stuff that they do, he just does not agree with. And going back to what you said about Burrow being the better QB on the day, nonsense.
Well, let me come at them a little bit, because I don't want to just have a moan. I want to tell the people on Twitter, our viewers, everyone who's listening on the podcast, I want to tell you why I think they have a problem. They have this. It seems to be an agenda with them that they just don't like the Chargers. They definitely don't like Justin Herbert. They said he was a draft bust, and they failed to recognise his achievements ever since, consistently picking on him and dragging him down. Now, here's a little idea of why they do that, because there was a PFF analyst that came up with why he thinks Burrow did better. Effectively, he calls Herbert a jump ball specialist. He throws it deep and long and just sticks it up there and hopes his receivers catch it. Whereas apparently Joe Burrow slotted it into 3 times in distance. So I went back to the tape. Joe Burrow found pretty much open men 3 times that I could hit between 30 and 50 yards open, right? Which is not a perfect back shoulder pass or dropping a dime on someone. Brilliant. Well done. You picked an open man in a busted coverage. Whereas Justin Herbert does sometimes throw up jump balls, to Mike Williams in particular. The fact is quite simple. Mike Williams is probably one of the best jump ball specialists in the league. And if you're throwing it up, the placement is perfect so that he knows Mike Williams is the only guy that's going to get it. The reality is some of those plays are just good defensive plays that Justin Herbert's incredible arm strength sends it 60, 70 yards down the field, right where his wide receiver can go up and make a talented play. That is not something to pick on Justin Herbert for. So PFF, stick your sock in it.
If you're airing the ball downfield, you've got to have a number of things going for you. You've got to be able to read the defense for a start. You've got to have the mechanics to get out of trouble. And let's be honest, Herbert's been under a lot of pressure this season. And you've got to be able to trust your receiver core. It's as simple as that. You know, let's look at Trevor Lawrence. He's had some big throwdown. They've gone all over the place. It matters to have me playing at quarterback for Jacksonville. I don't get this. Herbert makes mistakes. All quarterbacks do, and he's still learning the game. But look at the ticker tape. Another record that he's broke.
Yeah,
is he going to stop breaking records at some point? Because he's brilliant. Sorry, go on, Dan.
I was just going to jump in and say that it's not like he's the only quarterback with a strong arm who's throwing it downfield as well. Like, they don't say the same thing about when Aaron Rodgers throws his Hail Marys. They don't say anything on that. They might have done on Jay Cutler and Joe Flacco, but
definitely Jay Cutler.
yeah. I mean, everyone said bad things about Jay Cutler, even his linemen. But one of the guys I saw criticizing Herbert and praising Burrow was Dan Orlovsky. The Dan Orlovsky who was quarterback for the Colts, I think, when he ran out the back of the end zone while trying to complete a pass. So I'm happy just taking my own eyes and my own opinion here and trusting in Herbert.
I love the take, and it's just utterly it's an agenda that's being driven that is not based on facts. We're not sort of homers here saying that he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I don't want to slander Rivers, but in his latter years there was quite a number of times where he just threw it up and prayed, and can someone please jump higher than the D and get me a first down?
As Snowy puts it, Lamar Jackson jump balls where he doesn't look and hopes Andrews will grab it. It's not that kind of play.
Exactly. We're at war with PFF.
Well, I mean, for one thing, I don't think PFF in general is necessarily is taking that stance. Yes, their rating they rated him a better passer. I think they actually gave him a better fumble rating when Burrow actually fumbled the ball, which again, I don't know. Anyways, it's a whole other thing, but their rating system is a little bit off, right? Like whoever is in charge of actually going through and charting throws and deciding how to do it. I don't know if that's done by an individual person or if that's done by a machine, but I definitely don't agree with it, right? Like one of the stats that came out was big time throws, right? And they said Herbert had one big time throw. I'm sorry. There's anywhere from 3 to 7 of them, depending on how you grade your big time throws, right? And I think that stat's way off. You know, they go too far in the analytics direction where they try to say, well, we're going to take away those ugly old school stats that everybody loves, like yards and touchdowns and blah blah blah. I'm almost like you can't. I get the point of analytics and advanced stats. I'm a big proponent of them. Okay. I get that, but you can't completely remove every single stat that you think is an old, every stat is a data point that points to something. Right. So, the big person who's making this argument, you know, besides Orlovsky, who's going tape. Well, I don't know fucking tape you're watching, Dan Orlovsky, but I'm sorry, you're full of crap. All right. You're the BS little slinging throws that Burrow's making. Okay, great. That's great. But he's not the better quarterback. All right. Half the throws that Burrow made, I could have thrown, right? There are at least 5 to 10 different throws that Herbert does that only Herbert can throw. Like literally, 100%. Maybe one other person in the entire league can make those throws. Okay, so don't give me this. Oh, he was just as good. Okay, maybe if you look at it from the lens of, well, Herbert is the superior quarterback, and Burrow had, you know, he's a lower quarterback, so his lower ceiling gave him more opportunity to look better. Okay, I'll give you that. Maybe Herbert has looked better in his career, so maybe we're judging Herbert at a higher standard than we are Burrow. Maybe, but either way, I don't know how you can come away from that game saying convinced, okay, Burrow was a better quarterback in that game. That's garbage. It is absolutely not true. Additionally, when it comes to the main PFF person, it's some guy, Andrew PFF or whatever. I'm actually not sure how he's related to PFF. Like, I think he's an individual who may work there. He's a massive Bengals homer. If you follow him at all and check out his timeline, all he does is tweet about Bengals. He's a massive Bengals homer. And all he did was pick and choose individual stats that he chose were the stats that were important, right? These 4 stats that Burrow led in are the most important stats, right? I'm just like, come on, dude. Like, what about, okay, let's disregard yards and points and all that other stuff. Okay. Let's disregard that one little thing. Okay. Whatever. Let's look at some of these CPOE, EPA, interceptable passes, completion percentage, adjusted completion percentage, all things that are more advanced stats than the ones than those traditional stats. Herbert won in all of those categories. He had a better QBR. He had a better NFL rating. He had a better passer rating and most other metrics. Like, basically, with the exception of these like 3 or 4 stats that he picked and choose, Herbert was the superior quarterback. So don't tell me, oh, you got to look at the stats that tell you everything. I'm like, yeah, if you want to look at all the stats, great. Guess what? Herbert wins I think 7-3 or 7-4 or something in stat categories. Okay. So Herbert was probably the better overall quarterback that game. Additionally, when you take in talent and the fact that, oh yeah, that's right, he led them to victory and Burrow couldn't. Ultimately, I think, while I don't think wins are a quarterback stat, I think they are something that has to be considered at some point. And you know what? When you pile everything up, there's no way in my mind you can walk away from that game and go, for sure, Burrow was a better quarterback. Maybe you can say, hey, they both played really well. Okay, maybe you can say, hey, Burrow played better than that score or the loss says. I buy that. I 100% agree. I thought Burrow looked pretty good through many stretches, but there are a lot of things that Burrow could not do, that he did not do well, that Herbert did do well. And, you know, they talk about the swagger and that it factor. Well, you know what? Part of swagger to me is being aggressive. And I'll tell you right now,
definitely,
Burrow has such a low aggressiveness score. Basically, unless Jamar Chase is running free on the back end of a play, he's not throwing it deep. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to award the best quarterback of the day to the guy who's going to dink and dunk and hopefully wait for some sort of broken coverage. I'm going to give it to the better talent. I'm going to give it to the better quarterback. I'm going to give it to the quarterback who stands in the pocket and makes something happen. I'm going to give it to the quarterback who runs routes, catches 2-point conversions. I'm going to give it to the quarterback who goes out there and makes touchdown saving tackles. Okay. That's who I'm giving it to as the better quarterback, as the person I want to start my franchise with, not some guy who smoked a cigar and looks like freaking Kevin McAllister when he's 30. Okay. I'm sorry. I love cigars. I'm a big cigar smoker. That doesn't mean I have the it factor. Okay. So just please, let's settle down with this.
Yes. I'm loving it.
All right.
Well, we're talking about we're going to war for our QB, but let's switch tact and look at a different QB. The Chargers are probably going to lose to Mike Glennon this week.
Get out of here.
FYI, we're recording this on a Wednesday. Injury report came out. Guess who's listed as limited participant with an ankle injury today?
Not Jake Fromm.
No, Saquon Barkley. So,
brilliant! Just when I need him in my fantasy playoffs.
I know, right? But if Saquon is injured and not playing at 100%, that's just another boost to this Chargers defense. So, positive news, I guess.
And yeah, the report is the Giants are prepping Jake Fromm to be starting at quarterback.
Well, it depends.
Where's
Mike Glennon is in concussion protocol. So, if Glennon gets out of concussion protocol, then Glennon's the starter. But if he cannot get out of the protocol, then it'll be Jake Fromm. So, either way,
Jake from where?
Jake from.
I had a rumor they're going to bring.
Law.
I had a rumor bringing Eli Manning back.
Talking about Georgia, right? Go Bulldogs. Sorry.
This is the thing. So we face the Giants. It's the softest matchup on our schedule. I think we go. I think then we have Chiefs.
It's not
Texans,
Houston, is it?
No, Chiefs, Texans, and Broncos to finish. So it's an interesting end. The Giants banged up. Golladay could be missing. Tony could be missing. Barkley's injured. We don't know what quarterback they're going to start. The Giants still can cause you problems.
1 and 2 in the division. Sorry, 1 and 2 against the AFC West, should I say?
Yeah. So I think this is one where we have to tee off on the quarterback. Constant pressure, challenge them to make mistakes, defensive turnovers. This is a victory on a platter. I do not want to take it for granted. I don't want to sit here and say, oh, we've got this in the bag. We haven't. This is exactly the kind of game you expect the Chargers to win. And then someone like Travis Benjamin of old runs into his own end zone. Something like that could happen. I want a clean game, constant pressure. I want a cutthroat victory. And we take advantage so that there's no Fromm miracles. Do we think that we really, even if we lose Keenan Allen, and we don't have him playing because he is vaccinated, he could make it back, but perhaps doesn't. Do you think, John, that this is a victory that we're bringing home? Too easy, taking it for granted? Where are you going?
Well, it should be an easy win. I'll be honest with you. The Giants aren't very good. Their offense has been historically bad over the last few weeks. They're playing with backups. The coaching is bad. The defense has been mediocre at best, and that was supposed to be a big, strong suit for them. So, honestly, there should be no reason that this team has any problem with them. But unfortunately, I can't trust this team right now. As much as I want to praise them for what they're doing, and they're on a good roll, I mean, it just feels like any week this team could just lay an egg on the field. And I don't know what it is. This team seems to play best when their backs are against the wall, and their backs are absolutely the opposite direction. 10.5-point favorites is definitely not back against the wall. So anytime you see a straight, like everybody chooses the Chargers, which is what's going to end up happening when we get all these, pundit predictions, it seems like the Chargers want to lay an egg. So I don't know what Staley can do to motivate these guys and say, look, you need to come out here and you need to play your best and you need to not let up. But he needs to figure out how to keep them from letting up, because if they let up, they can lose. Because guess what? As bad as the Giants are, they are an NFL team. These are professional athletes. They have pride. They actually are good at football, regardless of what the record might say. Okay. So if you go in there, assuming you're going to win, taking it easy, looking ahead to Kansas City, as much as we want to say this is an easy game, guess what? Sunday, Giants. Thursday, they got to fly back home and play Kansas City in SoFi. So guess what? They're probably not necessarily focused on the Giants. They're focused probably on Kansas City, because that could be for the division. That could be the divisional difference right there. We beat Kansas City on Thursday. We could be number one in the division, get a home playoff game. But we got to beat the Giants first. And I'm really worried they're going to look ahead. So this is where good coaches make their money. This is where good coaches are able to take this is where good coaches are able to motivate players and say, look, I know it might seem like they are a pushover. They are not. The Giants are a professional team. They're a good team. If we don't come out with our A game, we will lose. They cannot come out flat. They need to come out. They need to handle business, and then they can move on to Kansas City and focusing on that important Thursday night game.
Definitely agree. Before I go to Woz, I was just showing you that the latest news is they just signed a free agent. This is their quarterback.
So I just said 10 minutes ago, they've just re-signed Eli Manning.
Yeah, that's it. Do you know what? That's what you have to do. Pin that up in the dressing room and say, don't care if he's left. Go beat him. Dan, what are you excited about?
Yeah, it is. For those that is not watching, for those of you not watching this, Dan is based in Colchester, which is the home of the British Airborne Brigade, and there's a load of Chinook helicopters flying above his house. So he's currently on mute. So we'll defer to myself. I've got some. I've got bold predictions. We're going to drop a 40 burger on the Giants. Okay, we're going to drop a 40. I think, bearing in mind we've got to go back to play Kansas City on Thursday night, I think Brandon Staley will rest Joey Bosa and give Chris Ruff more snaps. Okay, and I'm also going to predict in the fourth quarter he yanks Justin Herbert. They're my 3 bold predictions.
There you go.
I like it.
Send it. I am not going to hit you. I'm telling you now. But I'll put a caveat on this. I did say the Bengals are going to beat the Chargers on Sunday. I'm glad I was wrong.
Mr. Chinook, are his bold predictions adequate?
I don't think they're that bold. I think a bold prediction would be that we get 50.
50 burger.
We have back-to-back weeks with multiple interceptions.
Yeah. The thing is, though, with that, Dan, you've got to have a quarterback that can pass a football. Burrow 300 yards. It's probably why we got 2 picks. But I think Mike Glenn will be lucky to pass over 150.
Or Saquon Barkley just finds every hole in our O-line, in our D-line.
He did throw for 187 against Miami, so it's not out of reach for him.
It isn't. It's just I just couldn't agree with John more that this is one of these where the Chargers are gonna want to lay an egg. They'll play down to the competition, even though they're not the Chargers of old. It tends to happen. Most teams end up changing their own performance levels, dropping if they're playing a poor team. Who did the Jets have just beaten the Eagles? I think, didn't they, this weekend? And if you saw the Eagles play that game, it's like Jesus Christ on a bite. I just think that we can overcome it. And then I think there's going to be turnovers. There's stuff for us to take advantage of, and I'm predicting a 17-14 defeat. I'm joking. 17-14 victory. Barkley's going to do okay, I think, and he's going to win my fantasy matchup, but we'll win. John, what's your prediction?
So I want to lay 40 burger again because God, that would be nice to see that back to back. It'd really be nice to see Lombardi not be a conservative freaking douche like he is sometimes. But I do think he goes conservative again because I think he does. I do think the defense has another good game though. I think they're set up to dominate this game. I don't think they have a score, so I'm going to say that I think they do win this easily. I do think that they win it easily, but I think they do the same thing with as they did with the Bengals. I think there's a let up. I think they get out to an early lead, and then I think they kind of settle down, and then I think the Giants make a small run, a small one. But ultimately, I think the Bolts hold them off and keep it real. So I'm going to say 27 to 17.
Where are you going, Dan? What's your score?
24-12. There we go. No touchdowns, only field goals for the Giants.
That's fair. Was
41-10. Giants.
Look at you. Giants.
41-10 Chargers. I mean,
look, manager runs off the bench.
You are right. This is a trap game for us. But the Giants, I think, looking at their last 3 games, going back to Tampa Bay, they scored 10 against Tampa Bay, 30 against the Eagles, and 9 against Dolphins. So, with our defense playing a little bit better, with Ruff back, I'm confident we can hold them to 10. And And if we get on a roll, even without Keenan Allen, I think we've still got enough there to worry the Giants. It's a shame Jason Garrett is still not their offensive coordinator, because I might have said 6 or 3 for the Giants.
Snowy's even got 37-20 there.
Good man.
We're all really overconfident, but I'm pleased that we are. It shows that we're in a good position, getting some momentum, coming in and getting ahead of the scores and ahead of some of the competition chasing us. The Colts are chasing us for a playoff spot, and they have a bye. So it's a good opportunity to just move away from that and apply pressure onto the Chiefs, ready for the week after. Does anyone have any burning last points to discuss before we wrap it up this week?
Yeah, I want the listeners, or the viewers, should I say, to have a vote. Leave your comments, like and subscribe. Who's got the best hat, John or Dan? Bez, yeah, another $5 in the charity pot there, Bez, for not wearing anything Chargers related.
Whoa. Look at that gold. Look at that gold.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, right. This hat is a pro hat, baby. Whoa.
And you can win if... I'm joking. If you mug him in the street.
If you don't pick my hat as the winning hat, I promise you, Bez will eat a hat again. Not this one, but one of his ugly hats.
Damn it, I wanted that one.
I understand now why Bez hasn't been on for 2 weeks. Indigestion caused by all that hat eating.
Yeah, very, very true. Guys, It's been a pleasure. And we have one last thing. It's the Ashes. Go England. Cricket, second sport after the NFL. None of you have any idea. It's like baseball, but better. But, big chance for the Chargers to win. It's been a pleasure to get back. I'm glad to be back and healthy with you. And thanks for listening, viewing, and being with us. Bolt up.
Bolt up.